So with that, I'd like to welcome the new owner of the Carolina Panthers, Mr. David Tepper.
When a new owner is introduced to the sports world, there's a lot of uncertainty. Is he going to come in and throw money around in the hopes of winning a championship? Is he going to be a guy who fosters a quality relationship with the city? Or is he going to be a worthless cretin who only cares about himself? Or worse, one who throws your city under the bus to move the franchise elsewhere? With David Tepper, he was going to have his hands full with the Carolina Panthers. He bought the team for nearly $2.3 billion in the summer of 2018. But they were a team about to begin a transitionary phase. It was built in the image of their former owner, Jerry Richardson. He only owned the damn thing since it was founded. But he did the seatbelt trick, remained stuck in the 50s, and it cost him ownership of his team. Where his main legacy was building a statue of himself. A wildcard loss months beforehand was as close as they get to glory under Tepper's reign. 2018 was one of inevitable collapse. The team certainly did in the second half of that football year. Mostly due to Cam Newton grinding his injured shoulder into dust, along with a few other things. They were hoping to prove that free fall was a fluke, but the Panthers were about to hit the iceberg of reality. They were nearing the end of an era. 2019 was the year everything came crumbling down, and Tepper made his first executive decisions. Riverboat Ron had made his last gamble down on the river. He was an accomplished coach, but he was past his expiration date in Pantherland. Same went for a few core players. Super Cam and Greg Olsen moved on to different pastures, and Luke Kuechly threw a curveball by retiring due to health concerns. This was Tepper's first chance at building a great football team. And in hindsight, he failed miserably. Straight up shitting on the Panthers is too easy. They're the epitome of organizational chaos. Even a brief glance from the outside can show you that. I'd love to smash the low-hanging fruit, but in reality, it's a crossroads for the organization. There's no denying Tepper's flush with cash. The man ran a successful hedge fund. He knows how to make money with big moves. And the NFL is a foolproof investment. However, you can't run it like any other business. You try to run this thing like that and you will fail. David's learning this firsthand. To me, there have been 3 strikes that have been major blemishes towards his ownership so far. The first, I'm sorry, I have to go for the easy target in Matt Rhules. The problem was never hiring him in theory. This was a guy who had taken broken football programs and revived them to glory in a matter of years. He took a walking doormat in Temple and made them relevant. He evolved Baylor, reeling from one of the greatest scandals since SMU from terrible to a ranked outfit in 3 seasons. He was one of the most sought-after coaching candidates for a reason. And Tepper would do anything to get him. Literally anything. 7 years and $63 million? For a guy that hasn't sniffed the professional level? Don't get me wrong, I liked Rhule at the time, but for that pay grade? The risk of college coaches blowing up spectacularly at the professional level is ridiculously high. And I think you can take a wild guess as to what happened. You mean to tell me that a coach that's ridiculously hands-on and doesn't allow his coordinators to hire their own assistants didn't pan out? The legendary multi-QB scheme failed miserably? Firing offensive coordinators because they didn't run the ball without Christian McCaffrey? Shocking. Everyone knew that Rhule was overmatched by the end of year 2. But Tepper was held back by that massive contract he signed him to. He can bullshit about building a culture, but he was just a smokescreen for not wanting to pay a massive buyout. This is one of the richest owners in the NFL. They wipe their ass in custom $100,000 bills. Mac can talk about Jay-Z all he wants, but he wasn't the answer. Gone by week 5. David's inaction pissed away the season. He was going to be forced to eat tens of millions of dollars regardless of when it happened. Do I feel bad for Rhule? Not really. He and his family are set for multiple lifetimes with that deal. Plus, he's back to college, where he's much more comfortable in coaching. Tepper will still be eating millions of dollars despite Nebraska throwing him money. Thus leads to strike 2, meddling with the quarterback situation. Replacing Cam Newton has been much tougher than thought. Marty Herney was only brought back to appease Jerry Richardson. But oh boy, Jerry was gone. He didn't mesh well with Tepper and Rhule whatsoever. His choice of replacing Super Cam with Teddy Bridgewater was problematic to ownership. It wasn't the splash David wanted. He'd be booted for the new blood of Scott Fitterer of the Seahawks. The problem with Fitterer is I don't know how much of this is him and how much of it is David Tepper dictating decisions under center. Teddy Bridge was uninspiring in Carolina, but they chucked him off for next to nothing in favor of a massive gamble on Sam Darnold, who was already ruined thanks to crimes against quarterbacks by Adam Gase. Trading a second, fourth, and sixth for him is one thing, but qualifying his fifth-year option before he plays a regular season snap? Of course, it looked like a good move for all 3 games. To correct this error, and thanks to an injury to Darnold, they went deep into the well to acquire a big piece. Cam Newton. The shoulder made of jet-puffed marshmallow cream. This never felt like a move to win, but a move to put asses in seats for a few games. Hey everyone, come to the stadium and see the old legend perform as a shell of himself. The second coming was depressing. He was far past cooked. After that failure, they were hoping for a quick jolt with scorned Baker Mayfield at a discount rate, but that didn't work out all that well. Turns out you need a team around Baker for him to do well. He burned everything each chance he got, or it was deflected at the line of scrimmage. So at the end of the day, they have 4 quarterbacks. They're chucking tens of millions of dollars at them to suck. One of them's out for the year, another told to go away on waivers, and none of them have proven to be long-term solutions. It's pretty fucked. But all of that pales to the 3rd strike on his docket. Rock Hill, South Carolina. That town will introduce you to the dark side of David Tepper, a land of cutthroat politics and bad faith negotiating. It all began with a new practice facility being proposed. State-of-the-art amazement that would benefit both team and town. Rock Hill would be giving the Panthers a shit ton of tax breaks for it. And it was questionable considering the potential lack of flexible usage, but their commitment was steadfast. They guaranteed $225 million in bonds into constructing their new practice shrine. Despite getting the damn moon and then some, it was doomed from the start. Tepper claimed that Rock Hill was stalling on doling out the bonds for the project. This gave him cause to pull out and say, "Fuck it, I don't want to do this anymore." Rock Hill looked before they leaped, and David used his shell company to take the fall as it folded up. The Panthers took their ball and went home. No shocker that Rock Hill is livid. It's become a he said, she said slap fight that's been a complete shit show to watch. While Tepper's paid the bare minimum to the town for their trouble, it means nothing. The only thing that's come of it in the end is an overdeveloped exit interchange on a major freeway. A half-constructed facility that is unusable for any other enterprise on land Rock Hill no longer owns, and York County about to sue the town for all the bullshit. A black eye through and through. And it just makes everyone look awful. David can talk about patience all he wants, and he's gone on record saying that he wants to run his team like the Steelers he held a minority share of. But we know why he's suddenly panicking. This. The sheer emptiness and apathy on display in Bank of America Stadium is an alarming sight. Charlotte's put up with a lot of shit. They had a failed championship run, saw their franchise quarterback get ground into dust, and now have to suffer through death as a football team personified. I can think of a few reasons why the city doesn't care for the Panthers right now. Tepper hasn't really helped in that regard. He's tried to make big splashes wherever he's gone, and that style rarely works out in the sports realm. This is the first true test of his reign as owner. How he responds to this adversity will go a long way towards judging him in this role. There are plenty of owners who double down on their bullshit and stubbornly continue driving their teams off a cliff. However, there are those that see the light and change their ways. The main example to me, Jed York. When he first took control of the 49ers, he was a terrible owner. Consistently meddlesome and helped to drive San Fran into the ground. He made that whole spiel about how you couldn't fire owners as they hit rock bottom, when we all wish we could. It was here where he looked within and realized, in a way, what he was doing was wrong. Since that time, he's managed to take a step back and allow the football men to do their jobs. Jed's been a quiet presence at the top, and it's benefited the team. They haven't won a ring, but they've made a Super Bowl and have been consistently competitive, excluding the years the team was wrecked by injury. This is why it's more fascinating for me to go over Tepper than it is the Panthers organization. The problems point to him for the most part. He hired Rhules for that ridiculous amount. He meddled in team affairs. He led the Panthers towards a PR nightmare. There was a lot to say about the early pitfalls of sports ownership, and Tepper's run into every single one. Sometimes it takes failure to create success. Let's see if it happens here.